International. Hello, this is Bob Zanotti, formerly of Swiss Radio International, now SwitzerlandandSound.com in Bern, Switzerland. And you're listening to WRMI, Radio Miami International, Okeechobee, Florida, USA, and www.wrmi.net. Send us your comments and reception reports to info@wrmi.net.
Shortwave Shindig calling.
现在所收听的是转播爱好者欢乐会。You are listening to the Shortwave Shindig.
This is the Shortwave Shindig. الموجات القصيرة الحفلة.
This is the international service, the Shortwave Shindig.
You are tuned to the external service of the Shortwave Shindig.
This is the revolutionary voice of the Shortwave Shindig.
Here is a switch chronometer to give you the exact time.
This brings us up to the time for the old-fashioned hymn. Well, we've chosen one this morning that we know you're going to like because we like it just an awful lot. The title of it is Turn Your Radio On. And Jim, if you're ready, why, we'll lead right out.
Come and listen to the radio station where the mighty hosts of heaven sing. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. You want to hear the songs of Zion coming from the land of endless spring. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. And listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on. And glory share. Turn the lights down low. And listen to the Master's radio. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on. Brother, listen to the Gloryland chorus. Sing to the glad hosannas roll. Radio on. Turn your radio on. Get a little taste of joy's awaiting. Get a little heaven in your soul. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. And listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on. And glory share. Turn the lights down low. Listen to the Master's radio. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on. Listen to the songs of the fathers and the mothers. Many friends gone on before. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Some eternal morning we shall meet them over on the Hallelujah shore. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. And listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on. And glory share. Turn the lights down low. Listen to the Master's radio. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on.
This is the revolutionary voice of the Shortwave Shindig, signing on from the 28th Annual Winter Shortwave Listeners Fest, sponsored by the North American Shortwave Association. With the assistance of WRMI Okeechobee, Florida, RVSS comes to you on an assigned frequency of 7575 kilohertz, live from the Quaker Socialist Republic of Plymouth City, Pennsylvania, a free territory in the Americas.
Hello, world. We're on the air. Welcome to the Shortwave Shindig. Shortwave in the house. I'm David Gorin, your genial host, and to get started on our show, good listing of shortwave delicacies, we turn to John Pugliese and Richard Hunt, who are the co-chairmen, the festmeisters of this wonderful gathering. They are going to set our ears on the right path with tips for good program listening. That's program with an E, because it's from the 1930 edition of the BBC Handbook. Gentlemen?
Good listening. Make sure that your set is working properly before you settle down to listen. Choose your programs as carefully as you choose which theater to go to. It is just as important to you to enjoy yourself at home as at the theater. Listen as carefully at home as you do in a theater or concert hall. You can't get the best out of a program if your mind is wandering or if you are playing bridge or reading. Give it your full attention. Try turning out the lights so that your eye is not caught by familiar objects in the room. Your imagination will be twice as vivid. If you only listen with half an ear, you haven't a quarter of a right to criticize. Think of your favorite occupation. Don't you like a change sometimes? Give the wireless a rest now and then.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good advice that we can all live by. Wait, don't go away. So, I've been trying to think, is this a yearly shortwave Brigadoon or Shangri-La? Please discuss.
Other words that you can't say on radio come to mind, but...
So how's it going? So, tell us some of the highlights of this year and past years that you guys want to tell our audience about.
Oh, I think the diversity of forums and the depth of preparation that the various presenters do to share what they know with us is really amazing every year. This evening we were treated to the views and perspectives of a 17-year-old, a relatively young shortwave user. And this gentleman clearly had rather some insightful thoughts on radio, how it's made, what it says, how to listen, and the role of radio, and the challenges that radio faces in terms of how his peers, his fellow 17-year-olds listen. So I think that's one of the most interesting positive things. Each year we have some misadventures in connection with the fest. This year's misadventure, at least right now, is that the elevators in the hotel aren't working, so we're all getting lots of exercise walking up and down the stairs.
I think when we're talking about the past, or the past 28 years, I think the best aspect of the fest is the fact that it's like a reunion. It's people that don't see each other maybe only this time every year. And they come back here, and it's like they're old buddies again. You know, it's like the year never really went by. It's like a little capsule of time. It's sort of the same every year.
It really is like a family reunion.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So any, you want to forecast anything tomorrow in case anyone in earshot in Japan or Russia might want to stop by and check out the fest tomorrow?
Well, if you hurry, you still have time for tomorrow's activities. I think the first forum session is at 8:30 Eastern Time. That would be 13:30 Universal. So if you can get yourself to Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, if you're within the sound of our voice, there's no reason you can't be here and participate in activities tomorrow.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to hear next from Jeff White, the general manager of WRMI. Do you guys want to say anything about Jeff and his support of shortwave?
Well, I mean, obviously we couldn't do this without his support. When we thought about the idea, we talked about the idea last year of trying to do a shortwave broadcast from here. Jeff was the first guy we thought of, and Jeff, quite frankly, was very enthusiastic about the idea. And he donates the time on this transmitter for this, and we thank him very much for that.
Jeff's also been very diligent working with us to ensure that the audio connection works, and he went to the transmitter site just to make sure that the switch was flipped properly. So it's clear he's a supporter of the fest. He has been here before, so we just continue to be thrilled and grateful for Jeff's and WRMI's support of the SWL Fest.
Great. So now we'll catch up with Jeff. I spoke with him last week. As you guys here probably know, he took over WYR's enormous shortwave transmitting site in Okeechobee, Florida. So I asked him to give us an update. Take it away, David. When we talked last year, you were just settling in, and you hadn't even seen all of the site yet. So what's happened since? What's up with WRMI and life at Okeechobee?
Well, I'm glad to say that everything has gone extremely well. From my point of view, we've increased our transmissions quite a bit. I think we were up to almost like 200 hours a day, and now we're back down just a little bit. It fluctuates, but we have now 13 of the 14 transmitters all operating, and actually all of them are operating every day. Some of them are only maybe an hour a day, some of them up to 24 hours a day. And number 14, hopefully we'll have on the air sometime later this year.
Last year, you talked about the mix of programs, and you could see perhaps coming in the future maybe having additional models beyond the religious and political programmers that buy time on your station. Has anything evolved in that direction?
I'm not sure exactly where we were 1 year ago, but I think we had a relay from Radio Taiwan International in Spanish to Central America, and also a relay from Radio Japan in Spanish to Central America. And now we may expand the RTI relays to South America, and we also have Radio Prague. We may expand those relays in the near future. Radio Slovakia, we were relaying in English and Spanish, and as of January 1st this year, we added Slovak as well. And Radio Ukraine International, we're also transmitting in English. So overseas relays are an interesting part of our business, not the largest, but significant. And I think it's something that a lot of listeners of any given day like to be able to hear. So that's one thing. And then you may also be referring to a program we have called Global 24, which began in November last year. And it's a 24-hour English language news and entertainment channel, which we're transmitting from Okeechobee as well.
How's that going? Do you think that could be a successful model for the future? It's a very ambitious project, so I don't expect it to start full blast right at the beginning.
I should point out first that it's not our project exactly. It's a client of ours that has basically leased a transmitter from us to broadcast this program 24 hours a day. We have helped out in some ways where we can because we think it's a really good idea. English language news service 24 hours a day and some entertainment as well. As you say, it is very ambitious, and I think that perhaps the people who started it maybe didn't understand completely what they were getting involved in with this shortwave project. It's been a little more, maybe a little more complicated than they thought, a little more difficult than they thought. They may not have been able to promise everything that they've delivered so far, but they're trying, and we're trying to help them as much as we can. And I think from a programming standpoint, it's developing. There are a lot of good programs on there, and we get a lot of good reaction from North America and around the world.
There are a lot of good programs. When they came to you, did you give them your professional opinion as to the viability?
Well, yes, I talked to them quite a bit about it because their original idea was to start, I think it was 2 or 3 weekly half-hour programs. dealing with amateur radio. And then the conversation developed into the potential of a 24-hour news service. So it was kind of a big leap and a jump, and I, of course, had my reservations, but yet it's something that I had always wanted to do myself in a way. And so to see someone who was that excited about it and seemed to understand the medium, because there are a lot of people that come to us that want to broadcast on shortwave, and they don't know much about shortwave radio. A lot of them don't even understand it. But these people do, I think, they had a basic understanding of shortwave and wanted to do something that, like I say, I had wanted to do something like that for a long time. You know, I didn't discourage them, I didn't over-encourage them, but they made their own way, found their own sponsorship and so on to begin, and I hope they'll be able to make it. We'll see.
Thanks to Jeff White for that interview with all the news from Lake Okeechobee, where the women are strong, the men... Oh, wait, that's the wrong program. Sorry. We're going to launch into a listing set now. We're going to hear a little bit more from Jeff about the grounds and environment in Okeechobee. First, I want to let our listeners know that in about 8 minutes, towards the end of this next listing set of pieces, there will be a brief broadcast of the Shortwave Shindig and NASWA logo in the digital mode MSFK for about 1 minute. So if people want to try to decode it, you can download the software program FiDigi from w1hkj.com. It's a little hard to use, so you can record the program now and work on decoding the program later. And you can send images and reports to shortwaveology at mac.com. That's shortwaveology at mac.com. Thanks to Kim Andrew Elliott for advising us on and creating the transmission file. And now, back to the show.
Well, it's a 1 square mile cattle ranch. The land doesn't belong to us. It's rented from a farmer. WYFR did that for 37 years, and they're continuing to lease to us now. It's a peaceful cattle ranch. There's a lot of wildlife on this lot of land. Everything from deers to alligators and snakes and spiders to skunks and armadillos, and you name it, it's probably there. You're out in the middle of nature, in a way. It's 150 miles away from Miami, but it could be 1,000,000 miles away, you know, from the environment. So it's very peaceful for us. We like it, and you can relax. And of course, there's a lot of hectic things going on inside the building sometimes, but if it gets too much, you can go outside and take a walk and go see the cows and just enjoy the farm.
Is there an alligator pond?
Yes, there is a pond right beside the transmitter building, and I mean within 5 or 6 meters, and there are usually 3 or 4 alligators in there. Sometimes they're bigger than others, and sometimes they migrate from one pond to another on the farm. You can see them walking along, but they usually stay away from us, and we try and stay away from them, but just close enough to get a good look at them.
Alligator sneaking through the Okeechobee stand. Around the turn of midnight, the Indians rise, hog on the ground.
Z, you hear all the latest, but it wasn't crazy. When I was about 6 years old, I got my first transistor, and it became my friend, that radio. It's the only way I could go to bed at night, sleep, and I just put that under and drowned out, you know, the guys next door beating their kids or their wives, or, you know, it was just comforting. So I used to be awed by being able to listen to Chicago, St. Louis, Cleveland, Buffalo, Toronto, and all that. And when I was 12 years old, my brother gave up his paper route, and I was able to take it up. And we delivered them out. We had to bring it down to downtown Boston. And there I discovered this one street. It'd probably be like Canal Street in New York. There was just 14-foot high glass windows with different radios. And there was this big giant billboard thing, or those cardboard things that this lady would on the other shirt and transition on, and I just stare at this and read all the writing and talk about, you know, hearing anywhere in the world and the news when it happens and all this. And just a dream I could, you know, look at. Because its price, I forget what it was. It was a lot of money. It was over $100 back then. And so the salesman comes out one day and goes, I really like that radio. You're always looking. I see you every Saturday, and I tell him, you know, I bring my money up to the Boston Globe on the other side of the Common. And he goes, tell you what, he goes, here's my card, here's the price of the radio. He goes, Christmas is coming up, just show your old man that, you know, and see what he thinks. And I'm like, wow, you know, look at this, you know. So I take it over, I remember, and I'm sitting there, and I hand it over to my father. He's kind of an angry old bastard, but he looks at it, and he goes, $169. He goes, that's more money than I take home in 2 weeks. There's no radio in the world that's worth that. Tell me back at me, you know? So the next week, I'm back there waiting. I'm staring at the radio again. The salesman comes out and he goes, what's your dad say? And I said, my dad said it'd take 2 weeks to take home pay to buy a radio like that, and you know, money don't go on trees or something like that. You got to spend it. And he started asking me where I lived and all this different stuff. He goes, hold on, kid. He goes up back and gets this brand new transistor on it. Fills up full battery, so it's coming over. Brought like the middle streets, getting all traffic that way. There's no some people walking and stuff. Turn it on. And we sat there and read the directions together and how to get the different amps. I just couldn't believe what I could hear. You know, different languages that I had no idea what I was listening to, but looking at changes throughout the house. Come by next Saturday, let's play with some more. And for like 2 years, you know, I went down to this electronics place and they let me play with these radios. Co-chair of the Winter Shortwave Listeners Festival. My dad was an electrical engineer, and he built his first tube radio at age 8 in the 1930s. Of course, being like any rational father, he wanted to share his love of radio onto his son. So I remember one year he built a Lafayette Explorer super executive receiver kit, and gave that to me for Christmas. That was my first shortwave radio. Had it up in my bedroom with wire running around the woodwork, 3 sides of the room. I distinctly remember the exotic sounding place of Hilversum, Holland, and the fact that I could listen to Radio Moscow at pretty much any time of the day or night, and there was always a frequency somewhere that was really easy to hear in western New York State.
This is Moscow. Good evening, everybody. You are tuned to the North American service of Radio Moscow, operating in the 19, 25, and 31 meter band.
My name's Mike Ray. I lived in California. My father was an electrical engineer and a radar engineer, and came home one day with a big Hammerland radio, and we put it in our garage and threw about 20 feet of copper wire on it and turned it on, and there was Radio Japan like it was next door. This Radio Japan is the broadcasting city of NHK in Tokyo.
first radio was a Beeson 312 military surplus tank radio.
And my dad was an electrical engineer. He brought it up for said, here, you might want to try something like this. Just turn it on. And when it warmed up,
Well, it's perfect by going sometime.
I would take dancing rooms, and it hooked me. I was hooked for the rest of the time.
Stations played some sound, and fiercest static goes to ground for Jenkins. But Jenkins, with his 1-tube set, has never logged that station yet. No KGO from Jenkins yet, not Jenkins. Yet, always have I yearned to know if, in their Oakland studio, our Yankee friends of KGO,
Meeks, Mike Hochhammer, Kim Andrew Elliott, Marianne Kehoe. John Fisher sends greetings to the members of BDX, the Boston area DX's Club. And we pass the notebook around and other people chimed in. Here we have to Linda and Liz enjoying their weekend in Augustine from Brett. To Amanda, did you get to practice tonight? To the bad guy, Boston area DXers, Snowbound, Massachusetts from Dr. Eric Michelle, Chris Lobdell, and Ross. Hello, Abby and ZP. Well, hey. Greetings to Sky Scanners everywhere. Hi, Gang of Three. Hi, Tom. The magazine is gone. Transhow. Now, Paul Ladd is going to take over. The Golden Pipe.
Hi, Ken. Don't forget to check the water tonight. Jenny. Hey, Jenny. JSPF. Heather, did you leave the iron part there? What's that smell? The stopping distance of a car varies as the square of your speed, so don't. Hi, Mom. Brett is here at the SWL class, and we hope you're tuning in. Greetings to the ships at sea and the aliens of outer space.
Thank you, Paul Ladd. And thank you, Saul Brody. And now it's time for the Arsenal. With Paul Preston. Very good. Thomas, great to see you, David. Thomas has many interesting shortwave projects here to our world, with streams radios to schools, vision to teachers, in places that are off the grid or have sporadic access to electricity. And he also, in his spare time, has founded the Shortwave Audio Archive, which I believe is an enormous bricks and mortar. That's it. That's why on the competition. You should see the columns at the front of the archive. It's huge. So what's new with the archive? Well, this has been a great year for the archive. You know, we're still relatively young, a couple years old. And over the past year, we've had more and more contributors bringing topics from around the world. It's great because I've been doing a lot of contributions to the archive of recent recordings, recent audio recordings, but we've had contributors with Carol Frank in Europe, Julie in Australia, and Richard Langley in New Brunswick, and many, many others who've contributed to the archive this past year, and it's great to hear different recordings from around the world. That's really cool. Did you bring something to play for us tonight? Well, of course. Actually, one of the things I've been listening to lately, speaking of Richard Langley and New Brunswick, he recorded some really interesting recordings throughout Europe and the Baltics in the late 80s and early 90s. And one of the recordings he snagged was one of the last broadcasts of Radio Berlin International. And I thought it was fascinating because here is where you're hearing news as it is rolling out the pages of history.
Southeast Coast came to you from Radio Berlin International, the voice of the Democratic Republic. From East Berlin. With the day of German unification, most of the items into this program will certainly concentrate on questions directly related to the big event. So, what do we have in store? First of all, there will be our regular items of commentary and press release.
Richard actually very carefully digitized this from a cassette tape that he recorded back in the early 90s. And if you have cassette tapes, if you've got reel-to-reel tapes, if you've got any recordings of shortwave broadcasts, audio recordings, please let us know. Go to the shortwavearchive.com. You can also contact me at thomas@swling.com.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.
We're going to move specially commissioned compositions. First, we're going to kick it off with an excerpt of an interview that I did with Lee Montgomery, who's a professor of electronic arts at the University of New Mexico. One of the classes he teaches is The Art of Transmission, which looks at the use of transmitting and receiving audio by artists. I'll just read a little bit from the syllabus. This class will focus on the artistic possibilities of digital and analog transmission technologies, wireless and otherwise, with a particular but not exclusive focus on the use of the electromagnetic spectrum. Students will work with homemade analog electronics and repurposed commercial technologies, as well as free and open source streaming solutions to explore the potential of the internet and wireless technologies such as cell phones and networks to distribute and generate audio and video content. Well, Lee, who's done a lot of interesting work, he's currently using drones, which are programmed through wireless technology, to create art, and he had an earlier project called Neighborhood Public Radio, which set up shop for the Whitney Biennial in 2008, and they invited anyone to come in and talk on the airwaves. He's really an advocate of sort of micro-broadcasting. So his class, they build transmitters and they come up with projects, but to get them warmed up, Lee hands his class a Sony 7600GR, and they learn how to use it and sort of attune their ear to some of the sounds that we'll be working with. So here is Lee talking about this class.
The first assignment was to create an edited audio piece with sound that they recorded from the radio. It's really just designed to make sure that at the very least, going into it, they can record, edit, and present an audio piece using radio, and it sort of brings in all those aspects before we start talking about what you're going to broadcast or how you're going to broadcast with a transmitter, and get them familiar with an alternate landscape for broadcast. I do a lecture where I talk about the behavior of shortwave and how certain times of day are better for receiving certain signals, and so show them the various flags out there for frequencies that they can tune to at different times that might or might not, contain various types of broadcasts. And we do an exercise in class where we figure out what some good locations on the dial to hit would be to get a signal, and then we go out, somewhere outside and find the antennas and just try and tune to those frequencies and see if we get anything. And just doing that alone for the first time, I think you probably saw a video that I posted on Facebook about that when they were doing that. And so, just knowing that they had a few places where they might get actual clear signal, but that in the process of tuning to it, they would get all the various distortions that come as you get close to a viable signal. Allowed for just some really fascinating noise making, structured noise construction. Actually, when we did it last semester, there's this bridge between our Fine Arts studio building and our College of Fine Arts performance venue called Popejoy. And so we were up on the third floor on this bridge that goes across between the buildings. And people, it's not a high traffic area, but it's a trafficked area. And so many of my colleagues were going from one meeting to another, from the office to the bathroom or whatever, and they have to walk through this bridge of students with these squealing, staticky radios, and it sounded like a strangely functional symphony of sorts. And really, nobody was bothered by it. They all were more just fascinated and curious.
Dictation, lesson 2. In this lesson, you listen for the signal, and you think the proper response. At first, you will be helped by your inner voice. Then it should become automatic. Da, 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 da.
was the amateur radio operator. My grandfather was a retired ship's radio operator. So there were always radios around. And we'd listen to my father, and both grandparents were also hams, so we'd listen to them, and I was always fascinated by it. I would say probably when I was 7 or 8 years old, I happened to pick up Radio Netherlands by Voltaire and I was pretty much hooked then.
meter. Frequentie 15.720 kHz.
Ryan Sibley and Corey Gray, two great musicians from Portland, Oregon. Ryan wrote us a great song last year called Heavenly Static. And before that, we heard a wonderful piece by Tom Miller, a.k.a. Comrade Squelch. Tom's an anthropologist, ethnomusicologist, curator, and sound media artist, and a neighbor of mine, and a cool guy. And before that, we heard a lot of shortwave stories from some of the attendees of the SWL Fest. So we're going to go out soon, and we've adapted a Merle Haggard song, White Line Fever, but we're calling it Gray Line Fever, or maybe we should call it 50 Shades of Gray Line Fever. And the gray line is the darkness, daytime terminator, and it's when the reception can be very intense. So, Paul, you want to take it away, and then we'll go our song products after that.
Gray line fever. A sickness born down deep within my soul. Gray line fever. The X is flying by between antenna poles. The wrinkles in my forehead show the stations I've logged behind me. They continue to remind me how fast I'm growing old. It's all gone with gray line fever in my soul. I wonder what makes a man keep pushing on. What makes me keep on humming this old shortwave song? I've listened round the world 1,000 times before. I ain't to one single place that I ain't heard before. Gray line fever, sing it with me. Gray line fever. A sickness born down deep within my soul. A sickness born down deep within my soul. Gray line fever. DX keeps flying by between antenna poles.
Gray Line Fever. Paul Brody.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for our show. Thanks for tuning in to this rebroadcast of the Shortwave Shindig. First aired on February 27, 2015, live from the 28th Annual Winter Shortwave Listeners Fest. We dedicate this program to the memory of Martin Peck, a friend and longtime member of the Shindig's cast. Thanks to everyone who graciously told us their shortwave stories. Jim Strader, Richard Cupp, Mike Rohde, Harold Combs, Alan Byrode, John Fisher, Alan Roberts, Marie Ladd, Bob Zanotti, and Janice Bloss. Thanks also to Thomas Witherspoon, Jeff Murray, Lee Montgomery and his students, Adrian Duchamp, Julianne Aguilar, Matthew Wolf, and Ian Sackboom. Our executive producers are Richard Cupp and John Kikunuchi. I'm David Gordon.
Okeechobee, Florida, USA, and www.wrmi.net. Send us your comments and reception reports to info@wrmi.net or by regular mail to WRMI, Post Office Box 527.